Welcome to Manna at the Tap, a podcast from Tapestry Ministries. Each episode reflects on a daily Bible reading from the Revised Common Lectionary. I'm Gloria, a fellow traveler on a spiritual journey with the Tapestry community, and we refer to the daily Bible reading as our spiritual manna. It nourishes our souls, fostering spiritual growth as we share insights and interpretations that enrich our spiritual lives. Today is Thursday, July 24, 2025, in the sixth week after Pentecost during this season of ordinary time. But this is a time for us to live an extraordinary disciplined life as we experience spiritual growth. The lectionary reading is from the Old Testament book of Esther, one of two books in the Bible named after a woman. The story of Esther takes place in the royal court of Susa, the capital city of the Persian Empire, during the reign of King Xerxes. The book begins with a proud and petty, extravagant and exaggerating King Xerxes throwing a 6-month banquet for all his cronies who rule over his empire. He displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom, and when the 6 months ended, he hosted another banquet for the local people living in Susa for 1 week. Xerxes' wife, Queen Vashti, also hosted a party for the women. But while her party was going on, she was demanded by King Xerxes to parade before his cronies, wearing only her crown. She refused, and he banished her on the advice of his advisors. He soon regretted his decision, but there was no turning back. All the young women from the empire were gathered, and a beauty pageant was held. Esther was chosen, and she became the new queen. Mordecai warned her not to reveal her Jewish identity. The lectionary reading is from the book of Esther, chapter 2, beginning at verse 19. It appears that King Xerxes is not satisfied with his beautiful wife, Queen Esther, because he has called for a second gathering of virgins from across his vast empire. Mordecai is Esther's cousin, and he finds himself in the right place at the right time. While working in the royal court, he overheard a discussion between two of the king's officials who were planning to kill him. Mordecai informed Esther, and she reported it to the king. The conspiracy was investigated, and the two men were convicted and hanged. The incident was recorded in the logbook kept for the king's use, but Mordecai received no thanks, no reward, or no recognition for saving the king's life, and it was soon forgotten. King Xerxes later appointed Haman as the highest ranking official in the royal court, and it was everyone's duty to bow and kneel before Haman as he passed. But Mordecai, the Jew, refused to bow to Haman. He was not willing to conform to the crowd. Haman was informed by others in the royal court that Mordecai refused to bow to him. When he saw it for himself, he became so furious that he wanted to destroy Mordecai and all the Jews throughout Xerxes' kingdom. The lectionary reading concludes at Esther chapter 3, verse 6. Haman has devised a plan to wipe out all the Jews, and he knows how to gain the king's favor to implement his scheme. However, God also has plans to protect his people, regardless of where they live. But God's plans work best when we obey. Mordecai had repeatedly warned Esther not to reveal her identity as a Jew, so no one knew the relationship between Esther and Mordecai. The book of Esther has 10 chapters. I suggest that you read it to understand how God's plans for his people saved them. And every year since then, they celebrate the Jewish holiday of Purim to remember how the Jewish people were saved from Haman's plot to exterminate